the curtains and he just. Hi everyone, my name is Georgette True, and um I work for Tony Vincent Davis. God, joke. And I have my co-host Miss Stacy with me today, and Stacy is going to share some things with you, and I am also going to share some things with you that happened today. Stacy, do you want to go first?
Oh, geez, Miss G. Um,
You had a
well,
rough day today.
yeah, it's been a rough day today. I'm a little under the weather-ish and tired, and I couldn't decide before the show if I wanted to take a nap or take a bath, and I knew that both weren't prudent at the same time.
No, I know, right? I know. Oh my God. You look like you did one of them. You took a bath.
Yep, I did. I took a bath. My hair's still a little bit wet
Yes.
because I didn't have time to dry it all the way before the show.
You took a bath.
I did the front though.
That's okay. That's good. At least that's good.
Well,
But I know
okay, so
that
a
you've been
couple.
through a lot today. What happened?
Yeah, I tried. I tried hard, but one of the things that was cute though we were able to do. Well, when Ginger, who was court watching with us, she put on Facebook for people to call about Katie Ryford for her release, and people have been doing that. And I put the website up for the commissary for to buy Katie Ryford things, and people have been donating to it for her. Um, we wanted to do more today, but it just didn't happen. And we were trying to do a legal application for her, but despite being a paralegal and a notary, the sheriff's office wouldn't let me have a legal appointment with her. So even though we wanted to do an emergency application, we couldn't. You there, Miss G?
Well, you did the best you can, Stacey. You cannot beat yourself over it. I mean,
No, but it took
I.
my whole day.
Hmm.
I mean, I could still
I
think of
know.
ways to still do it, but I have to be to work by 11 a.m. tomorrow too.
Do you see how hard work it is, though? It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And but like I said, you're gonna, don't give up. Don't give up on helping. You know?
And
You
there's a
feel me?
choice you could file in Supreme Court or you could file in federal when it's constitutional violations.
Hmm.
Um, in the past, I've done them for federal court for people. Or I'm sorry, I've done it for Supreme Court for people, but and anybody can do it. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to be an attorney or. Um, but at federal court, they wouldn't take it, so I don't know.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
I think
I
you're
made
tired.
it.
Stop talking.
Huh?
I think we're both
Hi,
tired in the seat.
Anna. How are you? Hi, sweetheart.
I'm okay. Hi.
I think we are. Okay, Deanna, I know you have a CPS case, but I wanted to bring something up to some. I need to bring something.
I'm
Oh
sorry?
my God, I'm echoing. Okay. All right. Oh my God. All
What?
right. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can now, yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Hmm.
Yeah.
No? Can you guys hear
I
me? Hello?
Yes. Yes.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So today I had somebody call me, and she's a mother. Um, so she has a 13-year-old in the system. She had a 13-year-old. She read the law book, CPS law book, and CPS law book, it states that a minor has the right to appear in court and testify and has the right to know everything about the case. So this is in California. So what she did, she said that she called the. She said on the pamphlet, um, foster kids have the right to about the case, and then she said you call the hotline, and when you talk to the hotline, you explain the situation to them nicely, and make clear of what you're trying to say. And she said that the social workers lied to the judge and told the judge that the 13-year-old didn't want to see his parents, and that wasn't true. So now she has her kids back, and she's going to sue. Okay. So she did everything right. She didn't give up. She didn't give up. That woman was a fighter. And not fighter in a bad way, but a fighter in a way where she got what she wanted. She made the system work for her, not the other way around. And she made sure she looked at that pamphlet, CPS pamphlet, and she did everything that she needed to do to get her children back. She wasn't abusive, her and her husband. The teenager was retaliating against the dad because the dad took his PlayStation from him. That's it. So he went to his aunt and told his aunt something completely different because he wanted sympathy and he wanted the PlayStation back. That's all it is. And then this whole thing escalated after that. Okay. But the pamphlet is very important for you guys to read. Minors do have the right to know about the case. And the social workers were not telling him, and his court appointed attorney was not filling him in and was not telling him when the court hearings was or what was happening in the court hearings. Nothing. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Another mother from Sacramento, she's watching right now. She has one daughter. She's 8 years old. The boyfriend she was under protection from her ex-boyfriend because he went to jail because he wanted to kill her. And she got protection from him, and she was in a safe house, her and her daughter. CPS was notified because she called the police and told the police when he came out of jail, he went to see her and she was protecting her daughter. So the police put her in a witness protection home, a safe home, sorry, and to protect her. And then social workers found out where she's at, notified her ex-husband in another state to come and get his daughter. But she didn't do anything wrong. So first, one social worker said it's unfounded. Then the second social worker came along, and then she said it's unfounded. She's going to close the case. Then she went to the supervisor. The supervisor then told her that she has to close the case as general neglect. General neglect. But
Ms.
even
G,
though the case
how
is
that even an option? Because when you look at the CPS program manual in New York State, it lists the different kinds of possible indications, and general neglect is not one of the possible indications.
It's not. It's not. It's not even in their book. It's the kids have to be in severe harm in order for them to remove a child or two or three. But they don't do that. What I'm trying to tell you guys is that mother in Sacramento, she literally lost everything. Her mother kicked her out of the house because she was staying with her mom, her and her daughter. And her mom kicked her out of the house after her daughter was removed and told her that it's her fault for choosing the wrong guy. So the mother doesn't do any, she doesn't have any past or anything against her. But again, they turn the mother against her. And that's what I've been telling you guys all along. They turn the family against you and leave you homeless.
Mm-hmm.
So she is all she knows. The daughter doesn't know the dad in out of state because he didn't want to deal with her. But now he saw the opportunity, so he doesn't pay the $500 a month for child support. So So saw the opportunity to backstab the mother, even though he knows she's a good mom. It's like when you choose a partner, you don't know what you're gonna get. It's like a box of chocolate. You don't know. You don't know what you're gonna get. It could be a
It's
bad
true,
taste in
Misty.
your mouth, but you're not gonna know. So how is the mother gonna be blamed for something like that? Yeah, and the mother protected her daughter. So if the mother was neglectful or whatever they want to say, how is she gonna not? How is she gonna? I mean, she called the police. She got her daughter safe. She got herself safe. So what the hell, right? What?
Yeah.
Again, the reason the supervisor told the worker that is because if it's not neglect, they're not going to get the funding from the federal government. See, like I said to you guys, the money is so important to the entity. And these entities all over California, all over the United States, all they care about is not the well-being of the child. It's actually the opposite. Because the mother that I told you that got her kids back, they put the children in a foster home that had roaches on the couch, roaches on the ceiling, roaches on the children's food, and the mother took pictures of all that, showed it to the social worker. They didn't do crap. It's not until the mother hired 2 attorneys, one for her and one for her husband, CPS defense attorneys, and got her kids back. I'm telling you right now, she didn't stop. She questioned them. She would ask them, like, they, for example, they would tell the judge, "Oh, we didn't know where she lives," and she's like, "Well, how is that possible? Because from the beginning, you guys asked me what my address is. You guys asked me if I was married or not. You guys asked me all these questions. How could you not know anything about me, right?" So she got her kids back, and now she's ready to sue, and that's a great thing.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I want for you guys. Get your children back. But you have to do it wisely and you have to do smart. You have to be smart about it. And then you can go and sue them, but do not give them the hint that you're going to sue. I hope that makes sense to everyone. But I hope you guys can hear me. But, you know.
I can hear you, and
Deanna, where are you coming from?
I'm from
What
South.
state are you in?
I'm in South Carolina. Did you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I think Misty's kind of cutting in and out. So you're from South Carolina. What's happening with your situation?
I have a son named Noah. He's 6 years old now. When he was 4 in October 28th of 2021, my
Don't
son and
say
I.
names, Deanna.
Oh, okay.
No names.
Sorry. My son and I went to domestic violence shelter, and we were there for 60 days. And my son has disabilities. He's completely nonverbal, and I walked out with a suitcase and 2 bags and my son. And my ex, 7 false allegations on me with, they call it DSS in South Carolina. Still, they call it DSS. 7 false allegations on me in less than a year and a half. And what happened is I dropped my son off at ABA, which is for autism school, and it was 2.5 years on a waiting list for him to get in. And I dropped him off at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then that was my ex's weekend to have him for 4 days. He got him 8 days out of the month. That was one of his 4-day weekends that he had my son. He picked my son up at 4:00 p.m. and then DSS comes knocking on my door on Monday at noon, and they're telling me that my son was abused. And as any mother would be, or father, very concerned, freaking out, kind of, and they said I was the perpetrator. And I said, "Excuse me?" She goes, I mean, alleged perpetrator. And I asked her if she had any pictures of my son. Where was my son at? And she said my son was at school. And no, she did not have any pictures. So I've been through 5 attorneys. I've been set up very badly. Not one of my attorneys. What happened is my son was abused, okay? And the neighbor that's 7 years old heard my son screaming and crying. We know now why. He wasn't even in my care then, but yet they were after me. And I had 5 attorneys that just did not even put one piece of solid proof evidence of my innocence on record. And still to this day, there's not one piece. The school said when mom dropped him off, he did not have any bruises on him. That would be correct. And they're mandated by law, have to report. And my son is still pull-ups, and they change his pull-ups, every day. And he was there from 9 to 4. And I did not get him until 4 o'clock on Monday. And then DSS came back to my house. They asked if they could, and I said yes. And I saw bruises on my son, on his arm, and what was in the report, one on his hip and one on his rib cage, there was not on Monday when I saw him. And that was the first time that investigator had saw my son as well. She was very young, starting out, and I felt that with my child with his disabilities and with going through a divorce with domestic violence and all that I wanted somebody that had more experience, and I had called up there and spoke with the supervisor and asked if I could have somebody else that, that she was very nice. I didn't have any problems with her. I just wanted somebody with some more experience because I took this very serious. And I believe she took that very personal. And my son, that was February of 22 when that happened, and I had my son all the way up until August 10th of 2022, and all of a sudden, they came and got my son without no warning, no nothing. They had their guns drawn at my house. Police did, and they were the supervisor and the investigator, the one that I wanted a new one with. They were there. They took my son. They were very, very mean. And then they handed him to his dad, who he had not seen in 3 months, who had ghosted, and also who he was very scared of. Very. And DSS lied on drug test on me. I took a hair follicle test and a urine test. The caseworker said she never got my drug test back. She never got my results back. And she said that all the way up until March of this year. And I took it at the end of October of last year. After trial, which was in February of this year, I thought, I know it's such a long story. I'm sorry. It's so traumatic. It's very, very traumatic. My attorney had told me that, nothing was going to happen. And like, I was just free, free. And that's the way it should be because I'm innocent. Well, I got bait switched in court by my attorney. Right before we walked into trial, my attorney had told me that my ex was not agreeing on babysitters, a supervisor. And I said, why would I need a supervisor? My son's coming home. And he said, Ryan's just being, I'm sorry, he's just being the way he is. So just agree to it. He said, because if you don't agree to it, he said, you're not going to see your son until the end of the year, or possibly even next year. And this was in February. And he said, don't worry about it. I'll file an emergency hearing with family court and get your son home. And and then we walked into trial, and we weren't even in there 5 minutes. And the judge had asked us, you guys agree to the agreement? And I said, yes. And come to find out 6 weeks later, in an email in my junk mail, I read the merits order from trial, and it said that I agreed to excessive corporal punishment on my son, and that I agreed to giving my ex full custody of my son,
Oh my God.
and that
Oh my God.
and also they said that I did not complete all of my classes that I had to do, and I did. I should have never even had to do any to begin with. I didn't know what I know now then, as anybody would. I mean, I think. But I did do everything I was supposed to do. I still don't have my
This
son.
is so heartbreaking.
I still don't have my son. I have not seen my son in 9 months. And I was a stay-at-home mom with him. And my ex had told, he started kindergarten, special needs kindergarten. The school would not talk to me. None of my son's doctors, his specialists, nobody. Because the dad said that they're not allowed to talk to me. And then I learned all about parental rights and, was fighting for that. And I'm still fighting for some of his specialists that are totally still ignoring me. As in May, my attorney, after a few months, finally he typed up a letter for the school and for my son's doctors saying that they're, violating my rights, my fundamental parental rights and the law, and that and to obey by it. But some of them just are still totally ignoring me because I was slandered so badly. I mean, just very badly. I've been set up. I've been set up with that, and also they on my son was taken on August 10th of last year. On August 11th, they had my son's dad ordered by DSS to take my son to get a hair follicle test. The hair follicle test results came in on the 19th of August, and they said that my son was at death levels of methamphetamines and amphetamines. And I said, and then another county DSS came knocking because I moved, and they came knocking on my door. And they said that I was guilty of it. Come to find out, 2 days after my son, they did a hair follicle on him. 2 days after he did his hair follicle test, my son and his dad and my son's dad's girlfriend all went to the beach. And they're walking on the beach because I've got a picture of it. And also, my son had a full blood lab drawn on the 2nd of September and had his liver and kidneys checked. And the results were my son had never had any drugs in his system or any drug abuse ever from his liver and his kidneys. Shown that. And also, the FBI has raided in Myrtle Beach, Greenville, South Carolina, Spartanburg, and Lexington County. That's where my son was tested at for DSS, falsifying children's drug tests to remove them from their parents or parent. And I'm being ignored. I'm being so ignored. I'm shunned. I mean, like I don't exist. And I said, was my son ever taken to the? You would think if a child had any kind of drugs in their system, they would. If my son came up with drugs in the system, first thing I would do was take him up to the children's hospital emergency room. He goes to the beach. They never took him to the hospital. And I asked DSS, I want my son retested. I said, don't believe it at all, because I know he never been around drugs. And they refused to have him retested. The DSS caseworker said, Dad says no on the retest. I said, well, aren't you supposed to be the one that makes the rules? You know? I said, you should want. I said, if I had your job and a child tested positive for death levels or any level, I would have that child retested. They never did. And also, his dad shaves his head completely bald in the wintertime in December. And my son, with his autism, it's traumatizing to him to get he don't like his head touched or anything, and the noise and the vibration and everything is very traumatizing to him. So he goes and shaves his head completely bald. And they bait switched me at trial. I was treated horribly, and they're still saying that I did not complete my stuff. And I even have a forensic an expert that went over all my stuff, everything, and she says, you've been set up bad. And my attorney has shun her out. She would get on trial to testify against all of this. And it's a big nightmare. It's a big nightmare. And she even told my attorney, she said, Deanne, she said she completed everything. I've seen it. And they keep saying I did not. And I've caught them in so many lies. It's unbelievable. And it's all documented. But I've called higher up people. And you know what they do? They tell me to call the county DSS where I'm having major issues with. Call them. I said, why would I call them when I'm having problems with them? And this was at the Inspector General's office that have a special task force for just DSS alone. And that's what they told me to do. And I keep getting redirected to that county. And they don't talk to me. They don't talk to my mom or any. And they let my son, knowing when I would get 2 hours a month with my son, he would have bruises on him, bites all over him, be filthy, developed very bad. My son has sensory disorders as well, and there's smoking inside of the house that he's living in, and it's caused him to have upper respiratory infections, and two other things that I can't pronounce. Major sinus problems and all the, health problems and stuff. My son's very traumatized being taken away from me. And do they care? No, they don't. They do not care at all. And one of the things after they took my child, DSS asked me about if I was getting Social Security for my son. And I said, no, I'm not. But I had signed up for him for that, for his disabilities and stuff, because I was a single mom, and before I was a stay-at-home mom. And that was in March of 22. And still to this day, when I call and check up on it, even though I know already, they say, oh, well, we're still waiting. That's what the department tells me, but I don't believe it. And it's all about money. They do not care about children. They have just let my son just fend for himself, knowing, and even the school.
They hate women. They hate women, Deanna.
That's what I was wanting to say too.
Women.
They
Yeah,
just,
they
and
hate
here,
women. I'm telling you the God honest truth. Yeah.
oh, I believe it. I do. I do.
The other thing that I see this all the time too, like you could have been the most stellar mother to your children. You
Mhm.
know, I know because I know. And I used to have all the end of the school year parties at my house and do all these things for kids. I was the lunch mom that went into the schools, um, and very attentive to my kids' schoolwork, getting them to school on time, being involved in their education. But it's human nature. There's just such defect in human nature. People are so inflicted because when you go through such trauma like you're describing, you learn a lot about other people and human nature and tendencies and the horrible things that people do. And sometimes you're blessed to see wonderful things people do too. But one of the personalities, one of the characteristics I see often is so many people love to put people down to feel better of themselves. And as soon as, no matter how good of a mom you were before all this happened to you, in the instant that somebody gives them material to put you down so they can feel bigger of themselves, they're all for it. And so you see these schools that will be so fast to shame you, even though you were a stellar parent before someone came in and slandered you.
I know.
They love it.
It's unbelievable.
And to a child's detriment, they will watch a child go from straight A's to failure to thrive and still put you down because it makes them feel better about themselves and their ego, and feeding their ego and having fun with that is more important to them than the welfare of your child.
I know.
And it's a very disgusting thing about human nature that I have learned that people do, and it's so shameful.
Yeah.
So shameful. I don't ever want to be that kind of person.
Me neither. I mean, it's not, I could never be, and I don't want to be. It's, it's pure evil.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that
It is.
this existed, until I became a part of it, you know. Um, and my son has declined in school. He has, and it says that, on paper, that he was doing much better the year before, and that's when he was with me.
Yeah.
And
Right. And
does
that's
any
and it's a measure of how a child is doing with the current custody situation. If a child is
And that's
thriving with a
that's
parent,
every mother. Every mother that deals with CPS, their children were doing better in school before the children were removed, and then all of a sudden the children are misbehaving and they're really doing really poorly in school, and they're still blaming the CPS would blame the mother, even though the teachers or principal or whoever said the kids were doing or the child was doing better last year. That's when the child was in your custody, not in his dad's custody. His dad is out there, you know, got, and I don't think the meth came from you because his dad had him, right?
well, but
His
no,
dad had him.
his dad had him that day. They gave him to his dad on August 10th, and then he went August
But
11th
where
and got
was
a
he
hair
before
follicle
then?
test. His dad did not
But
see
where
him.
was he before then?
Uh, with me, his dad
Okay.
ghosted for 3 months, and I knew immediately it was an inside job because I knew it was untrue. It was not true, and I demanded for him to be retested. They never did. They never took him to the hospital, and the doctor um, checked him. DSS wanted the doctor to check him, and she did a full blood lab and everything on him and checked his liver and kidneys. Thank God they did that because it showed that he did not have any drugs or anything in his system. And that was 12 days after his hair follicle at death levels came back. And nothing's being done. Nothing. And and they supposedly closed. Oh, and then also on but I have an expert. I have an expert that's went through the testing and everything that will get on stand, and my attorney, who's not on my team, obviously, um, everybody's just they've I was wrote off last year. I was wrote off last year where I felt like I don't even exist, and I really don't. You know,
There's something else that you brought up too. When you were talking about the Investigator General's Office, the Division of Social Welfare, I want you to pay more attention when you go to the Investigator General's website, because if you pay a little bit more attention, what you're going to see is they praise themselves for how much money they have saved the federal government by detecting fraud. So they are a money focused agency, and the thrill of their day, the catch of their day, is to find money and save the government. Go after poor people that were abusing welfare. Go after. So from the Investigator General's perspective, when CPS is making a lot of money, then that's a well-oiled machine to them because they're money focused. They're not ethics focused. Their
see,
job probably is performance based by how much money they save the federal government by detecting fraud.
I did not know that.
Yeah, look when you go back, just look, you'll see, yay, we caught this person. Hey, this case here. Ooh, we saved this much money because we detected this problem, and it's money focused. So
the
you're the problem when you're reporting something that makes them have to lose money.
and I was told to call a certain somebody certain from the children's advocacy had told me to call that person, and I thought, oh, you know, I said, you know, is he gonna help, you know? And she said he's very well known, you know, and just spoke very high, and no, he directed me back to the department I'm having problems with.
And that's the other thing is they put you on they make you like a dog chasing your tail going in circles. When you're
Yes.
saying, oh, CPS is committing these crimes, oh, report it to this agency, oh, report it. They know those agencies aren't going to do anything.
No.
I'll give you an example. In New York State, um, let's see, some of the crimes that committed. Okay, so in my situation, CPS, my ex-husband is an attorney, and he was an attorney for CPS. And there were 2 reports of severe child abuse that were reported to the state hotline, and they were never investigated, and they were serious reports, and so they were closed inappropriately without investigation. And so I was reporting this, and I reported it to the police because it's also a crime of official misconduct and some other things. And the police told me, "Oh no, we don't investigate CPS. We don't ever investigate CPS. So call the Office of Children and Family Services." So then you go and you call the Office of Children and Family Services, and they're like, "Well, we're a state agency and CPS is a county agency. So we can tell them how to improve their performance, but we can't hold anyone accountable." So then you go back to the police and you say, "Well, I want to file this report," and they will not take it. Getting the police to take a report against a crime CPS committed is like trying to get Superman to eat kryptonite. It's like so repulsive to them; they will not accept it. So they put you on a little
Oh,
circle, like and the intention is that they're just going to keep you spinning around, and there's going to be real no source for your complaint to go, and the source they should be taking it at the police station when there's crimes committed, because if there's a penal code for it, they should be investigating it, but they won't,
I know my
because they
son.
all work together.
Yeah, they do. They sure do. Um, and my son, this was after, you know, the DSS case was open. My son was coming back from his dad's with bruises, and he was being abused. And I took him up to the police station, and I made a report, and it even says on the police report, visible bruises. Nobody called, nobody, nothing. And then I kept calling and I spoke with the chief and everything. And then he said he was going to have an investigator call. They found it. They didn't see even pictures were taken and everything. They said they didn't see anything to make a crime or anything. And I was like, "What?" I can't get any. I don't even like the word justice anymore because, in my opinion, there is no justice. Um, I can't get anything for my son. And and then this last time when DSS was called on my ex, they they find him unfounded on things that are actually founded. I mean, my
This
son,
is
my
true. This what you just said right now, Deanna, is so true.
yeah,
They will always say the abuser, even though when you have proof, video,
I know.
even if you have a video of him beating you, you know what they will say? Unfounded.
Yeah,
Unfounded.
they do. They do.
Yeah.
But my son choked on he's got oral stimming really bad. My son was born with a very rare gene. He's the eighth known person in the whole world born with it. And that has to do with his oral stimming. It's not so much autism, it's more of his gene, but autism is linked in with it. He gave, and I told him the night before, because I saw on Facebook on some page, and I said, "Do not give that to him because it will get lodged in his throat and he will choke." The next morning, I find out from the school that my son was in the hospital, that my son had choked. My son had swallowed the stretchy lizard, and was told that it would, come out. He's looking for it when he went to the bathroom, and nobody told me that it came out. Well, my son ended up getting very, very sick over that. He spent 8 nights in the hospital last year in May. Him and I did, and I didn't even know that DSS was doing investigating his dad on that, but until I got a letter in the mail saying that it was unfounded. I did not even know there was a case, but I'm thinking, how do you find something unfounded when it came out his bottom? And it's doctor noted that yes, he swallowed it. I mean, it's all documented from the hospital, everything. And that's how I found out is from the hospital when he did pass it, because he passed it at the school who did not tell me. And they were not following the law. They were not following the court order. They were not following their own law, rules. And this is a school for, special needs children. Um, and so I started, asking questions, do you guys have a report on this bruise and this on my son? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? And I said, on his forehead and there, here and here in his eye. And they, then I became the bad guy. But see, they were not doing body checks on my son. Every morning when I dropped him off, I went in and we did body checks with the supervisor and the therapist. I mean, there was, 3 or 4, including myself and my son, every morning. But yet, when the other when his dad took him, because I went up there and drove an hour, and sat across the street because I knew they were not doing body checks. Because when he was coming back, when I picked him up from his dad, he has these bruises on him. They could not have been doing body checks, and they weren't, because I sat across the street several times and watched myself, and they were not. He was not going in. And I became, of course, the bad guy because they weren't following, I became a threat to them because they were not following the law or anything. And then they kicked my son out, who waited 2.5 years on a waiting list and was supposed to be in there for 5 years. That desperately needs that. Kicked him out. And my ex has.
So wait, hold on. Wait, Deanna. So the dad has him now. So
Yes.
your parental rights is not terminated.
No.
Correct?
No.
You just lost custody.
Yes. we're going to
They can't terminate your parental rights if the other parent has the child.
see. I'm so confused because I'm in the dark, like always, on the merits order from trial that I got in my email. It said that if I do not finish my treatment plan, which I did, if I don't finish my treatment plan, it said, and then the placement plan, see attached page 22, but there was nothing attached. And so I'm like, what's this placement plan? And I looked it up, and from what I can recall, that a treatment plan like parenting classes and stuff is different than a placement plan. And I asked my attorney about it, and he said he had no idea what I was talking about. And so
Uh-oh, we lost her. Oh my gosh. Sorry. I think she's having a really bad connection because we lost her. But did you hear what she said?
Which part, Miss G?
About, let me just make sure Grace knows. Okay, about everything, how they favor one parent over the other. But then my question to her was, did she didn't lose her parental rights, but I don't think she knows anything. Like,
I just find it strange, Miss G. If a child tests positive for drugs, I mean, it's one thing if the parent tests positive, but the child.
but then again, the father was looming around. He could have done something. You do know that the father probably requested the hair follicle test after he did what he did. Think about it. The father requested it. They don't just request hair follicle test from a child.
I get it, Miss G, but I'm just trying to say, there's a lot of good, loving parents whose kids do turn to drugs, but it doesn't mean their kids should be taken away from them.
True, I get that, but he's a special need. He didn't do meth.
Oh, I see.
He didn't do meth. The father was, I know what she's saying. I know. But the father was looming around. And usually a vindictive father, a deadbeat, vindictive coward, will do everything they can to win. And in this case, meth can be just by touch or by air, and meth doesn't have a scent. Attorney Davis told me it doesn't have a scent. And I asked also other people, and I Googled it. It doesn't have a smell to it. So basically, if blown in the air and the child gets it on his hair or anyone, it's going to appear like the child is around meth. I mean, yeah, it's true. We had the attorney Okari. He said that. He said meth can be anywhere. Like you can be walking and meth can just come to your hair, and the hair holds a lot. The hair holds a lot unless they bleach the hair. But if the hair is not bleached, yes, it's going to show that they did meth or they're around meth. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're doing meth or somebody around them is doing meth. How come the mom wasn't tested positive for meth?
Right.
So it doesn't make sense.
It's a sad story.
It is. It's a very sad story. And I'm so sorry to hear that, but we're going to have to end the show now because I know you're not feeling good.
Yeah, I am looking forward to bedtime.
All right.
Might sound strange to your California listeners, but it's 11:00 p.m. here in New York.
Yes, and she has a cat and she's purring. Okay, go sleep. Have a good night.
You too, Miss G. You need to take care of yourself and get some good rest too.
I will. God bless you, sweetie. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right, everyone. Good night. God bless you. I'll see you guys tomorrow.